Right, welcome in. We are going live. We are going live right now. Fixing to turn on TikTok. So y'all pray for us. That's where the codes are. And we're starting the Chaos Cast. All right, we got some news to talk about. Oh, Lord. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Him. All our sins and griefs to bear. I done got that all messed up. Oh, got out of tune. How's everybody doing this morning? We got everybody coming in. We're going to be talking about some wild stuff. We're going to be talking about Southwest Airlines. We're going to be talking about, I think it's the Pacific Railway system, what we are seeing with Union Pacific Railways, about certain embargoes they're taking out that are causing animals to go without their food. They're actually having to ration food. The government's being cued to step in. But this is just going to make things worse on other places, because basically why Union Pacific's having to do that, we'll get into it more, but they're having to do it because of labor shortages. They're having to do it because of weather. They're having to do it because they're behind on the rail cars, a lot of things. So be ready for that. Hey, Prep Money, good to see you, bud. I bet he's got all kinds of good financial advice to tell you about. But if you got something to add, throw it in the comments there, Prep Money. We will add it, my friend. We will add it. But we got a lot of stories today to look at them. Right now, I'm checking my podcast setup to make sure all of the feed is going through. So again, if you're not listening to our podcast, you can go to the Chaos Cast. You'll find it on most major platforms. We share from Anchor. And so, yeah, go listen to that. You can download it and listen. Another thing that we're going to be talking about, the bomb cyclones, California weather. We've seen a lot of flooding out there. They've had at least one death of somebody that submerged in a vehicle. And we're going to look at a little bit of Twitter files today. So if you're hungry for some Twitter information, which I don't know if you really are, but if you're wanting to know about what Mr. Adam Schiff was up to and what they're releasing now, I mean, we found out all kinds of little goodies, about what's going on. And again, I don't take a political position on things. What I do is I put things out there. Just, hey, you decide. This is what's happening. I earnestly believe there's corruption on both sides. So that's me. That's me. I believe there's so much corruption in our government. It'd be great if we could just wipe the slate and start clean from scratch. So again, if you're just now coming in, if you're not a follower, hey, you need to be. Go ahead and give us a follow. And if you are just now coming in and you want to share this out and get some of your friends in on the fun, come on in. Bring them in. Share this out to your friends. Tell them to come on in here and let's talk about it. We're going to be looking at a little bit. The first thing I want to look at is the Southwest Airlines debacle. Southwest Airlines had to cancel all kinds of flights during the Christmas weekend, during the blizzard, and it was just insane. Now, some of the things I'm looking at are kind of pointing the finger at who is really at fault. Now, everybody's pointing their finger right now. But imagine you are flying to a certain destination. You have no vehicle that you can get a hold of. You're stuck in this airport. There's no way out. What are your plans for that? I want to ask you that. If you're a traveler, do you have plans? Do you have some kind of way? Do you have a get home plan? What if all the airlines are shut down? You can't rent a car and you're basically on foot. What if the power gets knocked out? This stuff is, they're game planning these types of scenarios right now with World War III currently happening. I mean, if you think it's not happening, it's happening. No, I will not Federson fly my plane. Oh my gosh. Who do we have trying to come up here? I will be saving most people. If you want to come up, we'll let you come up towards the end. So hang out for a minute. If you got something to add, you can put it in the comments. And if I feel like it's something we need to address now, we'll bring you on up and we'll talk about it. But what are your plans? You know, a lot of people are flying now. We were looking at some flights just to test the water, see what we were going to deal with if we were to go to SHOT Show. We were invited to come out and do some interviews at SHOT Show, and that's how, you know, that takes place in Las Vegas, where like literally every forum takes place, or literally every expo takes place. So SHOT Show is like the biggest gun show in the world. It takes place in Las Vegas. They have a range day where you can go out and shoot guns. So we were looking at flights to go out there because this is right up my alley. This is the kind of things I want to do. And, you know, I was automatically thinking, what if I'm stuck out there? How am I going to get home? See, I mean, that entails a lot. But that was the actual scenario that most of these people were dealing with that day. That they were stuck. You know, they had holiday plans, they had places to be, and they were stuck because of the blizzard. Now, why would you know, maybe they had these plans prior to even knowing this blizzard's coming. And, you know, I would say, you know, always have a backup plan. You don't never know what's going to be happening. But they had a system-wide meltdown with the Southwest Airlines. And these things have been happening for a while. See, you begin to see the cracks early with things that are happening. And these people were probably seeing these cracks for a while in their system with Southwest Airlines. And the pilots were especially seeing it. Now, again, if you're just now coming in, share this out. Let's get some folks in here. Hit that like button. Let's see how many we can get involved in the conversation. We usually have a big influx of trolls and people of that nature come in the beginning and then they leave. But we depend on our viewers to share this out and get more people in on what we're doing here. Let me share this out a little more. We're going to get this out here. Let's see here. Share this out to some folks. But again, share this out. Hit that follow button. Hit that like button. We're waiting on a few mods to get in here to help us out. We hope you come in. I had to take a break during the holiday season. All right. We got that done. There we go. We'll send it out again. Annie Oakley. We got Colleen as Annie Oakley. But again, thanks for coming in. But one of the things that I seen that was it was really telling, and it's something you're just continuously seeing this in major corporations and big factory settings. In steps the executive branch of the people that run your company have these papers that tell them, hey, you're a genius. You know what you're doing. You don't need to listen to your workers on the floor. And some of them actually believe that. And they go and they begin to just make crazy decisions. But it was their, it says, they had an outdated IT and crew scheduling system. That was where a lot of this began to happen. And Southwest own employees were warning about this. So think about that. Your employees are telling you, hey, we got some stuff that's coming down the pipe. You need to be prepared for this. Now, Southwest Airline Pilots Association has published a letter denouncing the airline's leadership as a cult that they say has spent the past 15 years destroying the company's legacy. culminating in the 2022 travel meltdown that left thousands of holiday travelers stranded. The union, which remains locked in heated contract negotiations with Southwest Airlines, published the letter December 31st. It was signed by Captain Tom Nikuo, a union vice president. Nikuo says system-wide meltdowns at Southwest Airlines have increased in frequency and magnitude over the past 15 years, citing not just the December failures that left Southwest passengers stranded nationwide, but also incidents from years past. Those include a series of meltdowns at Chicago Midway International Airport in January 2014, leading to 130 flights there being canceled. A router brownout issue in July 2016 that caused 2,300 flights to be canceled, and an October 2021 air traffic control problem in Jacksonville that led to 29% of Southwest flights being delayed or canceled. So I want you to think about that. We're seeing a breakdown of the system, and we've been seeing it for a while. We're going to talk about that a little more as we go forward. You see this in factories. You see these people. Hey, Kate, how you doing? Hit them likes, my friends. Hit that share button. Let's get that out. And if you're not following us, give us a follow. We like to share you the news every day. We like to get as many people in here to talk about it as we go. But they're citing that the management is the problem. And you know what? I'm going to agree with them. And a lot of your modern day corporations, they're a hair stroke away. You know, there's one thing away from these things happening in their places of work. They're so worried about bottom lines. They're so worried about keeping the stockholders happy. They're not worried about investing in the equipment or in training or the people. They're more worried about investing in educating you about Pride Month, which, hey, there's a lot of that out there, you know, but they're more invested in that and their company culture than they're worried about the actual company. And they're losing these companies. These companies are collapsing. One of the things that I have seen in about every factory I've worked is old equipment that is not being serviced, maintenance personnel that got the job because of, you know, they got that job because somebody liked them. They don't want to come out there and fix their equipment. They don't want to come out there and do their job. They're sitting in the shop, and because they want that job specifically because, hey, they got to do less work. But when it comes time, hey, there's like one or two of them guys that are actually really out there working hard. Now, at my previous job, we seen that very extensively. We had there's only like 3 or 4 people in that maintenance department that I actually even trusted, that I actually knew could come and get a job done. One of them I worked with personally out on the line, and he did a lot of fixing out on the line. And then he went into maintenance, and they pretty well had it all off on him. Another 2 guys were guys that came in late in the game that I already knew before they got there, and they had previous maintenance experience. And they actually tried to do a good job. Now, the guy that was over them, he was just, all he did was holler at everybody and blame everything on them. That's your modern factory. That's your modern workplace setting today. Is you have bosses that they talked their way into a position, or they had a piece of paper that said, hey, you're trained, and they went in there and they destroyed it. They destroyed the whole workforce. They put all their work off on somebody else because they're used to slacking. They've been sitting in the office. And that's kind of what sounds like, you know, they're talking about a cult of leadership culminating in the 2020 travel meltdown. So think about that. We're seeing meltdowns in the labor industry across the board. They can't find workers. Why? Because people don't want to work for a bunch of people that don't know what they're telling you to do. You know, I talk to older guys all the time that had to train these college-educated geniuses about about what they were doing, and they still didn't completely know. And then they got a good idea. We're going to change what we've been doing that's been working for 30 years, and we're going to try something new because you guys we got to stir up the pot. You guys are getting complacent, and bam, they crash the whole system. Or they neglect the things that need to be worked on. And that's kind of what's happening here. They neglected a system that needed to be worked on. Now, in the factory setting, and as you begin to look at in the labor sector, you know, they neglect the workers, they neglect the machinery. Here, the one thing that keeps you rolling on time, they neglected that. You know what? When Disney Plus came up, everybody said it looked like they had a programmer. They had a program from the 90s running the site, and people were getting hacked left and right. Why? Because they've probably got some kind of hierarchy culture of people that have no clue about what they're telling people to do. We're getting too big for our britches, folks. We're collapsing. We're watching the modern world collapse because everybody got so used to convenience and not having to do a whole lot, and being able to say they're a professional because of their paperwork. But we're really finding out who the professionals are. You got companies operating on pins and needles because of those one or two maintenance guys that do their job, those 3 or 4 workers that show up on time. It is a mess. It is a mess we're looking at, and we're seeing the stress fractures begin to turn into detrimental destruction to the system. And Southwest is just the first. We've seen it across the board. We're seeing it across the board right now. We're seeing these this elitist office culture, management culture, destroy America right now because they don't know what they're telling their workers to do, and they don't give a flip about their workers. If you're part of that group of workers and you feel like your bosses have no clue about what the job is, they just got that job because somebody gave it to them, or they knew the right person, or they had a piece of paper that said they're supposed to know it, and then they're leaning on you. Hey, hit that like button in the comments. Share this out to your like-minded friends. Hey, we got a management problem in America. We got a management problem in our governmental system. I mean, if you don't see that, you're blind. And it's not a Republican Democrat thing. This is in both sides of the party. We got people that got those positions handed to them basically because mama and daddy was a politician, or somebody's uncle was a politician, because they would toe a party line or they kissed the right tail. And now we're seeing the stress fractures in our country because these people are passing laws that are detrimental to their own selves. Right now, we're looking at a situation, and this comes from the Railway Age. The STB eyes emergency service order for Union Pacific. All right. The Surface Transport Board on December 30th directed Union Pacific to deliver certain unit trains of corn from origins to the Midwest to California on behalf of Foster Poultry Farms to alleviate immediate service issues, while it further considers the chicken and feed producers export petition for an emergency service order. STB in June issued an emergency service order to Union Pacific following Foster Farms' first petition due to similar service issues. And this goes on to say, according to Livingston, California-based Foster Farms, the December 29th petition, the emergency service order is necessary because of the substantial measurable deterioration of Union Pacific rail service to its Traver, Turlock, and Delhi, California facilities beginning October 20th, 2022, according to the STB's December 30th decision. They got a whole nother link there. If you go to the Railway Age, they're going to tell you a lot of different articles about this situation, so I suggest you go there. The corn that UP delivers, Foster Farms told STB, is used to feed hundreds of thousands of cattle and millions of chickens, which are raised for the purpose of providing food supplies. The lack of sufficient deliveries of unit trains in October and November resulted in feed stocks dwindling to critically low levels. And inventory levels have continued to dwindle in December. So STB summarized Foster Farms as saying, Foster Farms states that it was supplemented UP deliveries with corn shipped on BNSF Railway Company. So BNSF has had to pick up the slack of Union Pacific. So what I want to ask you today, if you're watching this or if you watch this on recap, who is suffering because Foster Farms is being taken care of? Because I'm going to guarantee you, as you read into this, Union Pacific is backlogged on rail cars. Now, I worked at 2 to 3 facilities that were waiting on rail cars. And here lately, everyone is waiting on rail cars. Everybody's waiting on rail cars. Now, my friend Steve Nixon is saying this. California has been the stress test for the rest of America since the end of World War II. Whichever way California goes, then goes the rest of the U.S. So if California is having railway complications, you're going to see it everywhere else. You're going to see it everywhere else, folks. That's a large population center. It's a major hub of technology, a major hub of business. It is like the, what is it, the eighth or ninth largest economy in the world. I mean, you're talking about just one state in America. Okay. And if they're struggling there to keep the livestock fed, how long will it be until your state where you're at is struggling to keep the livestock fed? Not because the food's not there, but because the food's not getting out. Now, you got to look at this scenario. Now it's easy for STB to issue an order, the Surface Transport Board. It's easy for them to issue an order. But can Union Pacific fill it? Because it's the fourth largest economy, is what Steve Nixon's telling me. Now, Steve's a buddy of mine from up in Tennessee, and I worked with him at Corsa. He is a fellow preparedness enthusiast, disaster enthusiast. He sees a lot of things that I do, and we got Stones in the house. I know Stones is right there with. We got a management problem in America. How many of you know that? People are being handed positions because of other reasons than their qualifications to manage. And I'm not talking about your college education. I'm talking about your abilities to manage well. We're seeing that across the board. You know, it always goes back to that strong men make good times make weak men make bad times. And so it's a cycle. And yes, this is a true cycle. This is something we see in our country right now. We've had a lot of good times, and you got a lot of people that got floated to the top. That they were on that cultural air mattress floating down the stream, just going with the flow. And somehow they got to the top, got handed a position, and they're screwing it up. Everything on paper says they should know. Everything on paper says they should get it together, but they're not. They're out there playing golf. They're out there laughing with their buddies. They're reaching across party lines, having dinner parties, laughing at you while they take all your money. There was a recent meme I seen that showed million. It said you had hundreds caught on camera. What was it? Hundreds caught on camera stealing trillions, and it showed all of Congress clapping their hands at one of these big bills. And that's the God's honest truth. We got the most corrupt government in history. One thing I want to know: the people in power don't got much common sense. Now, this is shown by our governor, Kay Ivey, old Granny Ivy over there. She says it's a no-brainer. We're going to delete TikTok off all government devices. So first off, TikTok's already got all those permissions on those devices, especially if it come on the phone. They don't need, I mean, you can delete it, whatever you want. They got back doors, 10 million back doors they can go in. Deleting TikTok's not going to stop a dad blame thing, my friend. If you jumped on that narrative bandwagon, I'm telling you, you need to really look into things. If you think that there is not a digital profile already built on you and your child, you're sorely mistaken. If you're carrying a burner phone and you think they don't know nothing about you, wait till that burner phone, if you carry it long enough and your birthday, a happy birthday wish pops up for you. They know what they want to know. They've been building digital profiles on you since those little buy low bonus cards at the grocery store. Yeah. Anything you put your information in, there is a hackable digital database. If China wants your information, they can get it. Now, here's the thing. China don't care about you. You know who you got to worry about? The people around you. Predators around you. You've got to worry about it. They is everybody you're not paying attention to, November South. I get asked that question all the time. I can't sit here and do the research for you and tell you all the idiots you need to be listening to. There's plenty of them. And they're out sitting in plain sight, clapping, taking your money, getting you mad about politics, and you're coming into my domain over here, running your mouth about stuff you don't know. Yeah, they got a digital database. And when I say they, NSA, CIA, FBI, they've got these databases. Okay. Edward Snowden pretty well told us this. Okay. The tech companies got these databases. Now, what have we watched the tech companies do? They just help China suppress an uprising of the people, the white paper movement. So, yeah, the powers that be, the tech oligarchs, the corporations, and your friendly, everyday neighborhood politicians that are looking to get their piece of your pie. So, yeah, that's to answer your questions. There is information. There are algorithms. There are AI programs that are going across the internet, gleaning information on every single person. They're doing it through voice recognition technology. They're doing it through facial recognition technology. They're probably if they want information on you, they will have it. Why do you think there keeps being all these leaks of somebody when they come out? They got all your data. They is the cloud. Anybody that has major access to the cloud, they can get your data at any point. There's major servers holding data, tons of data. And the government's got the money to build these servers. But the tech oligarchs will just hand it to them. They've proven that. And that kind of shows. And how do we know this? Because of these Twitter files. Now, one of the things about the Twitter files that's amazing is just seeing how deep the corruption may go. Now, let me see. I'm going to pull this up. We're going to find, let me see here if I got any more. I got it somewhere. Somebody tell me where I'm at. But anyways, Adam Schiff, they just released the Twitter files where there was that tweet going around on Twitter about Adam Schiff. And he actually, they've got the paperwork, the documentation that's been released on Twitter, for everybody to see, that shows where the Democratic Party was reaching out saying, hey, we got to shut this down. We need you to shadow ban this certain term about Adam Schiff. Now, you can't tell me. Now, you may be a Republican here, and I understand you've got your views on things. I used to be a Republican. I'm still conservative. I'm still constitutional. I'm still 2A. But if you don't think Mitch McConnell's out there making phone calls to the tech oligarchs saying, hey, they're talking about me because of this situation right now, because a lot of people can't stand Mitch McConnell, and we need you to silence that. And we're willing to give you some tax breaks if you do it. You can't tell me that he's not over there making them same decisions. I want you to remember this. It was a Republican that took your rights. The Patriot Act, that was a Republican that signed that into law. Just remember that. Oh, Georgie boy. And it's not been stopping. It's just a continued process ever since. That situation was used to take power, to traffic money, to embezzle money from the U.S. government. Every war that we've been in since World War II, at least, has been a government Ponzi scheme. It's been a money laundering scheme. When you have special forces and they're trafficking money, and their job is to carry money around when they go into the country, hey, that's not a war about saving the people. I mean, you're not worried about the people when you got special forces over there hauling money around, trying to protect the money and get it to these assets, and then it just disappears. This is the way things are. And I hate to open your eyes if you were in La La Land thinking that your good cold beer and your football ever Saturday night was where it was at, or every Monday night was where it's at. I'm telling you, you've been sitting there, you've been lulled into submission. And they're robbing you blind. And one day you're going to wake up and your country is going to be wake up now. It's in shambles now. We're looking at a railway system that can't fulfill orders, that's being ordered by a government to fulfill orders that told them they couldn't go, their workers, they couldn't go on strike because they needed paid days off. And I'm hearing every time I talk about the railway system, I have a railway worker or someone in the know on the rail contacts me on a video and says, hey, yeah, there's people quitting left and right because of what they're dealing with. And then I talk to people across the board in every single, like I'm in the mine. I've worked in mines. I've worked in first responding. I've worked in factory settings, textiles, chemical. I've worked in all these different facets. I've worked in the ministry. Everywhere you look, there is an administration failure, and people are stepping out because the administration that has the little paperwork says, hey, we know more than you. You need to shut up and listen to us, or screwing things up. This is across the board because they're given a very powerful position with very little real world experience. The tech industry's even come out and said they're working on starting apprenticeship programs, just like you have for your electricians and your welders. They're wanting to start apprenticeship programs for people, because when they get these kids from college that are geniuses, they have to basically re-educate them completely. So they might as well just have a program to do it. They come in entitled, they come in thinking I can do it. Why do you think Elon Musk was able to fire so many people at Twitter, and Twitter's still functioning, if not functioning better, according to your different opinion, whatever you believe? Because the majority of them were just sitting around on Twitter, tweeting, texting, not doing nothing. Yeah, we got a management failure in the U.S., and we're seeing it across the board. We're seeing it in the airlines. We're seeing it not just in airlines. We're seeing it in the trucking industry. We're seeing it in the fuel industry. We're seeing it in, when you got to turn around some boats to come back because you just had a scheduled outage at your refinery plants. And you just realize, hey, we're about to go under the ceiling on diesel, and we're about to start seeing fuel. So we got to turn those ships back around from Europe. See, it is a big spaghetti mess. And this is why I get on here daily, because the stress fractures are showing, my friends, in the industry, in our manufacturing industries, in our transportation industries, in our delivery industries, in our farming industries. The farmers cannot ship the food to you if the trains ain't there to fill up. The farmers cannot ship the food to you. Go around to the other door. Got a kid trying to come in. The farmers cannot ship things to you if there's no truck there to pick it up. And I'm gonna tell you right now, they're putting truck drivers in the cab. Hey, I'm telling you, I had one about run me over the other day. Tried to make a quick turn. Pull that door too. Tried to make a quick turn and he did run me off the road. So, yeah, corporate America, it's becoming a big failure. Not because of what a lot of people try to say, it's because of the nanny state. That micromanaging nanny state that we've created, that oversight of oversight committees. I'm telling you, we're edging towards laissez-faire capitalism because of the nanny state and multinational major corporations. When you get into laissez-faire capitalism, hey, you done screwed yourself. England done proved that bull crap with the Irish potato famine. Shut that door and don't come in behind this camera. Do you understand me? Shut the door. Shut that door. Lord, I got a strong-willed, loud-mouthed child about to get in trouble. So we got bureaucracy tying things up. Right now, we got bureaucracy saying, hey, you got to haul this stuff. Because we said you got to haul this stuff because this guy over here is complaining loud enough and got the right connections to get us to act. All right. Now, when somebody else calls us, hey, we don't got ours. Well, we're going to make an executive order. We're going to order them. Now, I want to tell you about executive orders. And my friend Steve came in and said something about California. They came in and said something about California being that kind of simulation. All right. So we look at California. Yeah, we do. Weston, calm down. People are watching you. This is what happens when you run in a live stream ministry / preparedness group from your home doing live streams. But yeah, I digress. Y'all just pray for us down here in Alabama. But yeah, right now you have leadership in California that are passing mining restrictions after they said we're going all electric. We're going all electric vehicles. You cannot have electric vehicles without certain kinds of mining. And you can say, well, this will force the industry to create what we need. No, it won't if there's no infrastructure there. You got to wait for the infrastructure to be there. My friends, we're facing a management problem. Are you in a management crisis? And I believe that's what we're seeing in America is a management crisis. And Southwest Airlines just the first. Now, one of our reports that we looked at as we go further into the stories, Lord help, when you get multiple pages, you just start having problems. All right, here it is. Now, we're talking about these people, these malactors that are attacking the grid. Now, we've had a lot of people. We're having issues with Twitter today right now. And it's not because of Twitter. It's because of this old jacked up phone I try to use. It's way past its prime. But anyways, we've had attacks on the grid. We had 4 substations attacked, by these malactors, Matthew Greenwood, 32, and Jeremy Carahan at 40, both of Puyallup. I hope I said that right. Now, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Washington has announced Tuesday these 2 men were to appear in Tacoma federal court on the charge of conspiracy to damage energy facilities. Greenwood is also charged with possession of an unregistered short barrel rifle, and a short barrel shotgun. Now, there's laws. How in the world these boys get these guns if there's laws against them having them? I don't know, because criminals don't follow the law no matter what laws you pass. So the criminal complaint revealed the alleged motive for the attacks on 4 substations. This is a supposed alleged motive on 4 substations, dozens of miles apart, within a 12-hour time frame on December 25th, 2022, was to commit a burglary at a business while power was down for some 15,000 customers in the area. The Department of Homeland Security warned last month that the U.S. power grid is vulnerable to domestic terrorism, noting online calls to sabotage critical infrastructure. Officials have not publicly cited domestic terrorism in the Washington case. All right, so here's the thing that I really want you to look at. Now, it's bad enough they can't even the government, the leadership, the executives of these corporations can barely keep it going as it is. And then you have these malactors that are coming in and causing even more extensive problems. Domestic terrorism. We're busted at the seams. We're at that critical breaking point. Now things like this big blizzard that hit, this big winter storm that hit, that just exacerbates it. So you have mismanagement, you have bad weather, and you have malactors. That is a recipe for disaster. Because see, not only are they mismanaging, you see the cracks here and there, but then these big events happen that nobody has control of, supposedly. And that allows these malactors to do what they're doing. So it just throws it completely out there in the open. Coronavirus, the lockdowns really expose a lot of cracks. See, in the factory industry, we've seen a lot of these problems. We've seen a lot of these issues coming. We've seen a lot of issues with the new working base. First off, you're having a loss of knowledge because you have this huge baby boomer population that is retiring. Gen X, they're not far behind. The top ranks of Gen X, they're not far from retirement. There's not enough Gen X to replace the boomers. All right, now a lot of your millennials they went to college. Why? Because the narrative was, hey, get a good education and get out of this factory. Well, hey, that good education is only going to do you so good as long as there's products in the store to use the money you make to buy. And when people are not making the products, your money is not going to be worth what you thought it was. So you may be making all this money, but you're going to be paying more of it because there's less people making what you need. And that's what we're seeing. That's why eggs are $8, because there's not enough people wanting to work to deliver this stuff. There's not enough people wanting to replace these farmers. We're really heading towards some mess right now and we're going to see the corporate farms take over en masse because this average age of farmers they're in their 60s. And so when these guys start retiring and their kids don't take over because they went to college, got a good education, got out of that podunk town, Corporations are going to start taking over. And I'm going to tell you, when corporations are doing things, things really fall through the crack. I've been in the factory. I've been in there and I've seen the things that get skipped to try and save some money and some time because it looks like it'll work at the time because the boss said we got to do it this way because the boss ain't been out on the floor. It just causes more and more problems, a ripple effect. And we're seeing ripple effect after ripple effect. We're getting too big. We're going to collapse. We're going to see things collapse. Why? How do we know this? Because we've seen it in history. Rome got too big. It got too divided. It was eventually collapsed. We look at the USSR. It got too big. There got to be too many factors. One of the big issues they say that happened, especially when the Holodomor took place and when we see that the USSR eventually began to collapse during the late 80s, and then we seen the balkanization of Eastern Europe during the 90s, is that they industrialized too quickly. They industrialized too quickly past what their infrastructure could handle. And they say that's what caused the Holodomor. Some people say Stalin purposely did that with to stamp out nationalist movements in the Ukraine. But then we get into the 90s and people no longer trusted that government. You had secession from I think 15 different states. Then you had all those Eastern nations begin to fight against one another. So we may see America fracture completely. We may see wars between major economic powers in America and what used to be the United States. See, when I do this, I'm not trying to just fearmonger. I'm trying to tell you this is probably what's coming. Every nation breaks down and collapses. Even the greatest one that we've ever known, besides what I would call the American Empire, the NATO Empire, the Western Empire, because it's collapsing. And we're seeing the fractures because of these major issues. It happens. History shows us this. See, I'm trying to prepare you to think, hey, I need to have my way of growing my own food. I need to have my way of replacing equipment when it begins to break down. I need to have a way of doing this by hand when there may not be electricity, there may be rolling blackouts. I need to have a way of doing this by hand because there may not be any fuel. Why did I say this? Because you see it happening in third world countries. Not all them third world countries have always been third world countries. Some of them are great nations that begin to collapse over time. I mean, you had some of the greatest nations in the world that happened in Africa. You had some of the greatest nations in the world that happened in the Middle East. And some of the greatest nations in the world have happened, and now those places are considered third world nations. America may join that one day. America may join it. I mean, when you look at the South American, Latin American nations, you had one of what people would call a world superpower. It just wasn't a modern superpower, and it collapsed for whatever reason. They say that there are huge buildings down in the Amazon, pyramids, things that they can't see when they do these LiDAR detections flying over. There was something there, but it collapsed. So I'm not telling you it's fearmonger. I'm saying I'm trying to prepare you for the aftermath of mismanagement. The aftermath of mismanagement. We've seen that slowly beginning to peek its head out from behind the corner over the last decade or two. And it's really, I think you're going to wake up one day and you're going to look around and you're going to say, where am I at? This ain't the America I grew up in. This ain't the Western nation that I grew up in. This ain't the modern world I grew up in. You're going to wake up probably one day, and then the next you're going to start seeing people with stripped down cars being pulled by horses and mules. How do we know this? Because this happened in the Balkans during the 90s. People would strip down cars and turn them into horse-drawn wagons. Because they didn't have enough fuel in one certain area, and they wasn't going to stop, at that time. One day we may be seeing people flee into Canada because, New England as a whole is beginning to turn into chaos and anarchy. We're already seeing that in a lot of major cities. We've seen it happen during the mass huge blizzard that hit Buffalo, where first responders just couldn't get out on the street. They couldn't even respond to regular things, and people began to loot stores. I mean, we got footage up on our account here that you can go and watch of people that are looting stores. They're not just taking food, they're taking whatever they can get. When the law can't get out, to address lawlessness, you're going to have more lawlessness. There is a great prophecy that says lawlessness will abound in a certain time. And that's something I think people need to look at, because we're beginning to see, and I don't think we've seen the full extent of it. I think they say it takes one officer per 1,000 people in a civil society. Well, what about when a society is in collapse and it's no longer civil? I want you to think about that. I'm not trying to fearmonger you. Our philosophy here is always prepared, never scared. Now, I'm going to share the secret to that with you at the end of this broadcast, live stream / podcast. Yeah, it all starts with management. I want to read you just a little bit of what, now again, this is Fox News, but other places are reporting on this. Critics of Rep. Adam Schiff, a Democrat of California, were outraged after reading Elon Musk and journalist Matt Taibbi's latest Twitter files entry alleging that Schiff lobbied Twitter to suspend journalists from the platform. This was published Tuesday. The latest round of the Twitter files, internal documents revealing how Twitter engaged in censorship and promoted the disinformation in tandem with government agencies for the past few years, revealed that Schiff's office asked Twitter to remove journalist Paul Sperry and others from the site. That's wild. That's wild. Now, again, I'm not taking a side on this. I'm saying you got a politician working with the media to create a narrative. This is stuff that Russia used to do. We used to have radio stations broadcasting into Russia just to give people a good idea of what was really happening in the world, because Russia was putting propaganda on their networks before the collapse of the USSR. We're seeing that in America. We're seeing that in America. And I want to ask you today, are you ready for a time when you can't believe anything you hear? When all you got to rely on is you. When all you got to rely on is you and what you know works. And then I want to ask you, what do you know that works? I do a lot of bushcraft and survival training on my different platforms. Why? Because I feel like it's something we need. Do you realize we're the first group of people, these last 3 to 4 generations in history that have given up our food independence in such a mass whole of people? Do you realize we're the first ones that ever do that in history because of convenience around us? We're depending on AI. We're depending on corporations. We're depending on stores. Used to, a man made his own house, crafted his own furniture, grew his own food, raised his own meat, produced his own dairy, had his own poultry, made his own cooking herb, grew his own cooking herbs, made his own hunting implements. Even people could forge their own knives and create their own property. And one interesting thing, I watched Yellowstone 1923, and it shows the man sitting there with the electronics, and everybody's, what are these? He said, this is an electric washer. And, the women are just amazed by this electric washer that you wouldn't have to use a washer board for. And turns out, they started out renting these things to people. Okay. And they said that if anybody were to buy electricity from them, they could rent these items. They had this out, and this was a big town celebration that was going on. And these guys, they made one solid point. They said, we don't need any of this stuff. They said, if we start renting all this from you and buying your electricity, we're going to be working for you and not for us. Think about that. You got a lot of people you got a lot of corporate executives that are leaving these jobs and starting homesteads. Why? Because they see critical things. We're working for the powers that be, the corporations, the government. I would even say useless eaters that are just sitting over there living off, whatever they can get for free. You're working for them. You're not working for yourself. You may have a nice television to watch when you come home for your 2 or 3 hours that you get to watch it, and you have to go back to work. Self-reliance. Where is that going in this modern day? Nobody is self-reliant. Everybody is working for somebody and is being your life, your day to day is being controlled by someone. And people are sick of it. People don't like it. What needs to happen? Those powers need to be collapsed and gone away, but it won't happen. We are in what I believe the last days, and we're going to begin to see new powers rise up upon those powers, and they're going to create a world power, I believe. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Now let's talk about this California cyclone bomb. Now, we talked about that in the beginning. This is going to be even more bad weather. If I can find it in my papers. Even more bad weather coming on California. It says millions of California residents recovering from a deluge that killed at least one person over the weekend and contributed to flooding, mudslides, and power outages are bracing for the arrival of another atmospheric river. A long, narrow band of moisture drawn from the tropics. Flood watches are in effect from 12 million people in central and northern California. Many of those communities were hit hard over the weekend by heavy wind and rain, and they will be walloping again starting Wednesday. So now, we're having reports of earthquakes coming. We're having reports of the drought that has just basically decimated Western livestock farmers, decimated our food supply chain in some ways. We are seeing all this happened. Then we had this huge winter storm come through and just waylays everybody. I'm talking about when I posted about my farthest drain, in the house, my washer drain freezing. We couldn't wash clothes because it froze. Like the one thing I didn't get, because there's always going to be that one thing that you forget or don't get or didn't expect. Tons of people across the U.S. responded in that video. It got up in the hundreds. I think it's up in the hundreds of thousands, maybe 300,000 views at least on TikTok. Probably a few thousand on other platforms right now. But we had tons of people respond that their drains were freezing, that they had the water left trickling. One of the things that happened because of the water trickling, a lot of water towers began to run out of water around here. We began to hear those reports. People on the mountain have a lot of water towers to supply water, and people the companies were running out of water because one thing, they couldn't get it pumped up fast enough for everything that was trickling out the faucets. But people were experiencing just this huge disaster across the U.S. Well, then California, they've got this decimated dry ground. A lot of the grass is dead. The topsoil probably got washed away. You're hearing about mudslides. So this torrential rain's coming down. There's nothing to soak it into the ground because everything's dry, cracked, and dead. And so you're going to have mudslides. You're going to have flooding because it can't be absorbed into the ground, and it's going to begin to gather in low spots where it normally wasn't. And so then you have cars trapped on highways. You find a person submerged in a car. And what I want to ask, are you prepared for that scenario? Do you have the knowledge and the skill to get yourself out of a car that's submerged in water? That's something you need to think about. Do you have just something as simple as a glass breaker on hand? I mean, you can buy some very cheap glass breakers that just hang on a lanyard on your windshield, on your rear view mirror. Think about that. That's the kind of things. The one most important tool I'm going to tell you that every person needs is a good knife. A good knife. This is a Mora Kniv stainless steel. These are made in Sweden. It is a Mora Garberg. This is the stainless steel version. I thought I ordered the 1095 carbon steel version, which was basically the same price, but just something like this kept on your person in an EDC bag for emergencies. You got a glass breaker right there. I had a friend one time that talked about somebody that drowned in a puddle in their car. The car filled with water, just a deep puddle where they wrecked. And she had beat her hands to almost bloody pulps on a windshield trying to break it with her hands. Sometimes you just don't got the strength to do it. A good quick jab with that or a knife blade or a glass breaker is going to get you out. Do you have that? Do you have that in your home? Do you have that kind of skill and knowledge to improvise? These are the things we need to be thinking about. Do you have an emergency go bag? Now, we talk about ReadyWise all the time. We're providing you a way to get a good go bag built. We have gear on the site. We tell you gear daily about what is good to use, what we've tested out, what we think will work. And then we tell you about food we went out and tried. We went out and cooked this. Boil water. All you need is just a little stove. My brother got me this for Christmas, and this is a good stove. This is a Coleman Peak. They're not terribly high. They distribute the heat very well. This and a stainless steel cook pot, you're going to be able to cook your food in a power outage. You're going to take your boiling water, pour it in here. You don't got no water running. Your pipes are froze. You don't got to wash no dishes. Plastic spoon, plastic fork. You lick the spoon off, whatever you do. Pour the boiling water in this bag, let it set, and you're going to have a good meal to fill you up. And these things will fill you up. And somebody made a comment one time about portions. Now, these are their adventure camping meals. This is what I would want in my go bag. Now, they don't last as long as the emergency food buckets. You want to put them up in the closet and not touch them during these short emergencies. You want to save them for a long-term emergency like right now when food is like literally 3 or 4 times the price of what you were expecting it, and you're struggling to get groceries. Now's the time. You may need to bust into that food supply you've had for years just to kind of supplement things till you get a game plan and get a garden growing. But yeah, ReadyWise, E29TEN, all capital letters. You can go click the link on through our bio link. We have ReadyWise there. You can click it, E2910, and you're going to save 10% on your purchase. Hey, how you doing? Ozark. Got Ozark in here. Kate said Ozark. Where's Ozark at? Yeah, we got a lot of folks coming in. Got a lot of people following. Again, hit that like button, hit that follow button. If you were looking for tips. Now, one of the little surprises of the Christmas season, my son, he bought a Camillus. He had some money and he wanted this Camillus survival set. He's got a little axe, a little nylon handle. A lot of times these nylon handles are pretty stout. I do like a wooden handle one so I can re-handle an axe head. But this right here will do for, it's cheap. It's affordable. They got these on sale for like $20, $22, $23, I think. But one of the things that surprised me is this little keychain pair of field scissors. Now, this is stronger than your average little Leatherman or Victorinox scissors, and that's why I like it. Comes with this little Carter pin that you can push in here. If I can get them lined up. This is the one major struggle. So you don't want to use this unless you absolutely have to. But yeah, this is one of the little surprises of the Christmas season. He brings this home, and he didn't really pay much attention to it. And I was thinking I might have to trade him out of that little pair of scissors because I want to hang that on my keychain. I got a little keychain knife sharpener. I got a keychain cordage maker, and that would be a great little tool. But again, if you're looking for a good, effective knife, just general all around that, and I do highly suggest the 1095. If you're not adept at sharpening knives, but these Mora knives. Now, again, I'm not repping for them. I'd like to sell them. I'm working on getting that going for a while. I've been talking to a company that supplies to the U.S. But yeah, these are great starter knives. I got this for $54. I think you can find the 1095. I think I've seen it on Amazon for $60. A pterosaur, Condor pterosaur is a good one. Another little surprise. They had these 2 packs of Ozark Trail, lanterns, 3 AAA batteries. Now this is a lot of light for this a little camp lantern. It's got a metal frame. Lord, this right here might work as a little self-defense device. You got that thing, you're swinging at somebody. But no, we got these for the kids. The kids got these in their stockings. And that's a pretty bright little light to have, a little camp light. And I think I seen them at Walmart. They were $10 for a double pack. So you're literally paying $5 for a good little sturdy camp lantern. These are the things you want to have. Now, if you are one of those people that live in the city and you think you may have to bug out, we're going to be working on a bug out camp. Now, this is a hot tent that I've got. We're going to be showing some videos, so y'all be paying attention to that. I got a little stove. They sell P38 little can openers. I got one of those in my wallet, I believe, if I hadn't put it in my go bag. But yeah. That's a bright idea. Oh Lord, we got the dad jokes coming out invisible. But this is a Metco. I think I paid $100 for this. Comes with a stove jacket. I think it's a 3 to 4 person, either 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 person hot tent. That would be a good long-term shelter, especially in the winter, because this is going to hold heat in. You're going to have a little stove. Now, you can buy collapsible stoves online. You can make them out of cans. We got some things we're going to be putting up pretty soon about how to do that. But these are the things, we got so much happening right now. It's a cacophony. It's a mess. It's a disaster. Again, share this out if you're just now coming in. Hit that follow button if you're just now coming in. Hit the like button. We're talking about the news. We're trying to give you a good collection of the news today. We'll try and get it on here again Friday and talk to you about what exactly we're seeing. Let me see here. This is another report on the powerful storm that threatens California with more flooding. This is from the New York Times. Rain lashed the Bay Area early Wednesday as Californians braced for another powerful storm, which forecasters said would bring more flooding, landslides, and damaging winds. Just days after another atmospheric, I had never heard of an atmospheric river until now, but now we're seeing another one. It drifts west. We've had tornadoes across the south that spun off from yet another big winter storm that came in and dumped snow in the Midwest, possibly caused blizzards. It caused tornadoes in the south. We've got this atmospheric river out in California. We've got railroad woes. That we're looking at Union Pacific doing these railroad embargoes. The government trying to tell them you can't do this, even though the reason they're doing it is because they're backlogged and can't fulfill the orders. There's ways to camouflage it, and there will be refugee areas. The thing we got to look at is history. Now, you look at the Depression. That's what we're looking at happening, more than likely. You're not going to see this major. We're looking at a slow roll breakdown. We're getting it come out from every side. Mismanagement, which was happening in the 30s, 20s and 30s. Mismanagement, war, disaster, and lawlessness and crime. Now, yeah, you're gonna have to be mindful of what you're doing, but you're gonna have to settle down at some point. We're looking at van life. You got tons of caravans tropsing across the Midwest right now. Think about that. There are van lifers that are moving around the U.S. in caravans right now. They done got the routes planned and tricked out. Now, there will be safety numbers. You will find people. During the Depression, there were tent cities of people that cropped up. We even had that during 2008. There were people that went out and found land nobody was using and began to camp on it just because they lost jobs and things. So, yeah, you're going to want to camouflage that, but you might be bugging out from just a destitute city you can't afford to buy food from. You can't afford to, you don't have work in. You can't afford to go and get a new house, but you got to get out because the crime rates are shooting up. And some of the crimes, just like predators follow herds, there will be crime, but you're going to have somewhere to stay. You're going to end up in some places that's out in the open, but there will be numbers. This right here is going to be one of them things that helps you. I'm trying to prepare you for a slow roll depression type apocalypse, like basically the balkanization of America and the West. We're going to begin to see it right now in Great Britain. You're seeing food prices through the roof, and it's starting to edge its way to America. We're seeing the egg prices start to skyrocket, whereas they seen this 6 months ago and started to have put cages around butter. Tracking devices on butter. It started out with a little test by Walmart down in Florida, and now you're seeing it in mass used in Europe. You're also seeing Aldi shut down and never come back to that area of Buffalo because of people rioting, people stealing, people looting. You're going to see more of this in major cities, and you're going to see food deserts. They already got food deserts. Well, more food deserts are going to begin to pop up, and people are going to end up having to leave without anywhere to go, and they're going to form up these large encampments. It's just coming. People will go stupid at first. They will. People will organize again. Yeah, you're going to see some people you're going to see some of these, ransacked or taken in the beginning when it gets really bad, when the real chaos. But there's always that peak, and then there's that bowl. There will be people that come together. There'll be some small towns that won't let anybody in. And this has happened in America. This happened during the Spanish influenza outbreak. There were towns that literally were, blocking the entrance to their towns and wouldn't let people in. But you're going to see some refugee camps of people fleeing. We done seen tons of people fleeing the city down here. We got more New York and California tags than I've ever seen in this area. But you're going to have encampments Like every scenario I read about, you got encampments outside of little bastions of hope for people, little places that somehow found a way to keep going, little mining towns that had a resource and they were able to get food in. These are things that's going to happen before things reestablish themselves. So there's not just a complete end, there is a next phase. And that's what I'm trying to get you to. Trying to teach you the skills to take care of you and your family, because there will be a point where you're just going to have to settle down, because, I mean, you can't rely off your survival food forever. It's going to disappear. You're going to have to work with somebody. This is why society came together. So there's going to be encampments. They're going to be growing food on other people's land. They're going to be growing food on corporate land. They're going to clear out trees. They're going to do what they got to do to survive. And then maybe the government will come in and break it up like they do a lot of these homeless encampments in some of these major cities. But they're just going to recongregate somewhere else. They may even have a plan to recongregate somewhere else. Look at the homeless community right now in a lot of these major cities. They tear these things down and another one pops up. These are people that are dealing with what a lot of people are going to begin to deal with as America begins to collapse and break down. This is the goal of the Eastern Pacific power group that's beginning to form. They want us to collapse. Why? They want our government to collapse. Why? So they can move in and get the natural resources. They want the natural resources. Russia is moving on Ukraine, and there's a massive amount of grain produced there. They're going to control a lot. They're going to control a lot of oil. They're going to control a lot of grain. China's going to take Taiwan. Why? Because they're one of the other major producers of computer chip technology. If they take Taiwan, you need to understand this. Our military is going to be very severely strapped, because a lot of our new equipment relies on computer chips. Just like you're seeing a car shortage, you're going to see military equipment shortages. You're going to see vehicles that got halfway made and they couldn't put them on the road, or they're going to have to find another way. That's why they're rushing right now in Japan to ramp up computer chip manufacturing. That's why they're rushing in America to bring in processing manufacturing plants. But then again, who is going to work them? Who's going to work them? And those of you that don't want people coming across the border completely, you got to look at this. You kids don't want to work these jobs. I've worked with your kids. They don't like these jobs. They're looking to get out. They're going to start a business. That's fine. But who's going to work those jobs? And you got a bunch of people wanting to come in and work those jobs. We need to quit focusing on stopping them from coming in and regulating who's coming in, what they're going to contribute, and give them a path to citizenship, because they want these jobs. And I can tell you from working in these factories, working in these industries, we desperately need some help. We desperately need some help. You don't realize half the prices you're paying are because they're trying to attract workers, and they're not creating more workers in the factories. They're all going to start businesses or get college degrees. They're just shifting the working demographic around. People are leaving a lower paying job to get a higher paying job. They don't got nobody. And I'm going to tell you, them robots in McDonald's may replace a lot of folks, but they're going to have some operators in there. Because I've worked with automation before. And yeah, it was great when it run, but when it didn't, you better get your butt up there and fix it, because you're going to shut down the whole line. But we're kind of dwindling down to the end here. We've been going for, Lord help, how long have we been going? What is our time? Oh, we've been going for over an hour now. I thought it was in the 40-something minute range, but we're about to end it. About to get off here. It's around 2:30 Central Time. But, a lot of people say preppers are scared. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to die. That's the first thing you need to understand. If you're going to be a prepper, you need to prepare. One of the greatest preparations you got to have is that, hey, one day you're going to get caught. You're going to run out. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get sick. There's going to be some point that you're just going to die. You're not going to be able to do it. And when that preparation of thought, that's going to give you the ability to not just freeze up and panic in a lot of crazy situations. Preparation is not about fear. It's about peace. And we always say here at Edge 29 Chaos Preparedness, always prepared, never scared. How can I can't guarantee that for you, but how can I say we're always prepared and never scared? And a lot of that goes back to something outside my abilities. Now, I can put up a lot of things. I can put up a lot of food. I can put up ammunition. I can put up weapons. I can put up tools. I can put up all these things and then lose them in a house fire or have them stolen from me. I can have these things taken. One of my greatest preparations that I feel like I have is my relationship with my Lord Jesus Christ. He covers those things I can't. It says the angels of the Lord encamp about those who fear him. It means I've got protection even when I wasn't expecting the attack to come. You know, he will raise up a standard when the enemy comes in like a flood. He's there to take care of me. He will pick up where I didn't know. He will pick up where I didn't think. He'll pick up in the areas. He will give me the warning I wasn't going to get. I've had that. See, a lot of people try to come at me and disprove my relationship with Christ with science. And what I come at people with is experience, with experience and the knowledge I've gained from my situations statistically. The things that I've seen happen in my life that shouldn't have happened, that did happen, those coincidences, there's so many of them now, there statistically couldn't be coincidence. You can say, yeah, they are, but no, I've not seen that to be the case. I've seen specific needs met where nobody was there to meet it. There was no money there. I've seen specific needs met by people that did not like me and didn't care about me and didn't want me to succeed. But yet, God sent them in with it, and they had to bring it in, kind of like Mordecai over when he got walked around the city. But I want to bring you some peace and comfort. There, if you don't want it, you don't got to have it. You don't got to be a part of this part of the show. This is the ministry part of the show, the part where I do what I feel the Lord lead me to do, and I say, there's some comfort. He's there knocking at your heart's door, and he's saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you some peace in the storm. I'll never leave you nor forsake you. I'll give you some help. I'm an ever-present help in time of need." He's going to be there for you. And if you're looking for that kind of relationship with God, he's just a prayer away. He's just a prayer away from being a part of your life, helping you to make it. That's how I'm always prepared and never scared, because I trust the Lord. And if I don't make it, I've got a promise in the hereafter. I've got an insurance for the hereafter. Do you got to be perfect? Do you got to be perfect? No, you don't got to be perfect. We have spent too much time in the church trying to sell people on a certain thing that we forgot about the love of Christ and the servitude of the Christian. And I'm here to serve you today to tell you, hey, I'm going to give you a little. I don't got much to give you, but I got some skills to teach you. I got some knowledge to share. I'm going to help you keep up with what's going on so you know what's coming. But then I'm going to give you something that transcends all that when I can't help you, you can't help you, your daddy and mama can't help you, there's somebody there that can help you. And this may not be your thing. I'm not saying you got to believe this. I'm not saying you got to be a part of this. This is just something I do every day, and just give you that fair warning. If you're new, hey, this is what we do at the end of this. We have the whole rest of the show for, those that don't care for this to participate. This is that part where I do what I feel led by the Lord to do. And you can do what you feel led to do if you don't want to be a part of it. And I understand that. I respectfully understand that. I understand people don't believe like me. I understand people don't take my faith. I do want to have a little bit of time of devotion today here on this Wednesday, January 4th of 2023. I'm going to give you some of these ideas and thoughts from Max Lucado. We're coming from Ephesians 1:19. I'm not sure what his translation he's coming from. It says, "You will know that God's power is very great for us who believe." I can testify to that. I've seen it. I've seen it in play in my life. You ever heard that phrase, let go and let God? When you've done all you can, maybe I'll be misquoting it. They said it in the Notebook. I do know that. My wife may have watched that numerous times. But anyways, sometimes when you've done all you can, let go and let God. You got to let him, because there's some things you just ain't got no control over. And that's when I hand things over to him. I do my part, and then I let him. It says, God loves to decorate. This is Max Lucado's thoughts on the scripture. God loves to decorate. God has to decorate. Let him live long enough in a heart, and that heart will begin to change. Portraits of hurt will be replaced by landscapes of grace. Walls of anger will be demolished and shaky foundations restored. God can no more leave a life unchanged than a mother can leave her child's tear untouched. This might explain some of the discomfort in your life. Remodeling of the heart is not always pleasant. We don't object when the carpenter adds a few shelves, but he's been known to gut. He's been known to gut the entire west wing. Thank you there, Kate. God will gut the whole. You think it's a bad time, but sometimes God will just gut it right out, and it feels bad, but the end result's a little better. You know, I've been heading towards a certain destination. I feel it in myself. God's doing something different in my ministry and in my life, and He's completely gutted everything that me and everybody around me thought, and He's doing a different thing. Got a lot of folks think I'm crazy. But God's doing a different thing, and you're a testament to that right now. The help that you're getting right now, the ability for me to do this. I'm computer illiterate, folks. I got raised computer illiterate, and here I am running a podcast and a live stream. I didn't know half of what I'm doing now. That's how God provides. That's why you're here today. That's why you're getting knowledge you didn't have before today, because God led you this direction. You know, if I don't make any impact, I may want on you. This is the service that He's guided me to do for you, to help you and to give you some comfort and peace, because times are chaotic. Times are chaotic. People are looking for something, and a lot of people forgot about the Lord because the government said, trust me, and now you can't trust the government because they keep screwing everything up. What was that Reagan said? The most feared words in history. Hey, we're the government, and we're here to help, and we watch them destroy our veterans at the VA. We watch them destroy our economy, watch them destroy our supply chain with mismanagement. I'm telling you, man. But we don't object when the carpenter adds a few shells, but he has been known to gut the entire west wing. We'll read that again. He has such high aspirations for you. God envisions a complete restoration. He won't stop until He is finished. He wants you to be just like Jesus. You know, in the greatest kind of chaos that life has ever seen, Christ was marred more than any other man. He was stressed as a human would be, to the point he sweated blood, but He was able to make it. He was able to get through it without giving up. Now, you're going through a hard time. Life's hard. God does not stop life from happening, but He will help you get through it. A lot of people don't get through situations because they just simply give up and smack away the hand of help that's been given them. But I'm telling you today, God's reaching out. I had a friend, he said, if God's real, he said, it's like everybody's getting a Pepsi but me. Why don't I get a Pepsi? And I was like, hey, here's your Pepsi. Because I was sitting there listening to him, talking with him, trying to comfort him. And it's like it kind of shocked him. He just started laughing because he didn't have an argument. You've been sitting there wondering, God, why? God, why? I don't know if I even believe in you, God. All this hardship, all this trial. Hey, here's your Pepsi. Here's your cup of coffee. By the way, my wife sells coffee. Go check her out. Got some of that good Wakers coffee. Yeah, we'll do a little bit of repping here because we don't make hardly enough on here, and that coffee helps us keep this going. But yeah, here's your cup. Here's your help. Here's your hand. Don't smack it away. God wants to help you be prepared. God wants to help you be knowledgeable. You know, it says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. He completely puts that on the people. He says, the knowledge is there. The help is there. I am there. You just got to take the knowledge of it. You know, I've showed you a lot of videos. I'm not trying. Thank you for that help there, singing nurse. Thank you for that gift there. We appreciate that. Y'all give singing nurse give her a follow and give her some love on that. Let her know. Thank you for that gift. And if you feel like throwing a couple coins in the plate, we got the gift set up there. We're just looking for any kind of goal, whatever you can give to help us keep this rolling and pay for pay for website costs and things and graphic design. But that being said, Lord just looking to help you. It's all on you to pick that knowledge up. And we've showed you these videos of, we're not making fun of these kids. We laugh about what's said, but we've shown you college kids. We've shown you older people. We've shown you people of every generation and the mistakes they made. And I always say this is the group of people that's going to take care of you in the nursing home one day. And I want you to think about that. The answer is not to berate them, to not always make fun of them, but sometimes you can't help but laugh because it is funny because of the things they say. But it does show you One simple thing, a general lack of knowledge in the American populace. There are things that you need to know that you have not been taught. We took home economics out of school. We took out ag courses in a lot of school. We replaced them with music programs and arts programs. That's great. But hey, people don't know how to do basic things. I think they said that 60 some odd percent of people 20 and this was an old statistic. So it's probably they may have learned, but they were saying this was about 3 or 4 years ago that I heard this statistic. But 60% of people 26 and under, by the statistics they were and the polls they were doing, did not know how to change a light bulb. And I hope you know how to change a light bulb. There's plenty of YouTube videos probably out there on how to change a light bulb. If you don't, let me know. I'll do a video on how to change a light bulb. I'm not beneath trying to help somebody. Don't you feel bad for asking, because there's a lot of knowledge lost. There's a lot of kids that got left on a computer, that got left on a video game, that got left in front of a TV. I was one of them that sat in front of there willingly and didn't learn when my dad tried to get me out in under the car hood and doing things. But then in my later life, I started learning things. I started realizing how ignorant I was, and I like, you know what, I can't be the only one. And when I got on here, I got to realizing, hey, there's a lot more folks that were like I was that just needed to know stuff. And once you start that journey, it's an incredible one. And God's the best guide to have on it. But I appreciate y'all coming in. I appreciate y'all being a part of this. I appreciate the gifts that people have given in this live stream. Appreciate those of you that are going to be listening on the recap, on the podcast, on YouTube, on on Facebook. Probably won't have it on TikTok. It crashed. I mean, on Twitter, it crashed. Yeah, thank y'all for coming in. Come back again. We're going to try and do this again Friday around the same time. Going to try and get that rolling. Thank you for coming in. Y'all have a good one. See y'all later.